presenting about the background of the study. Firstly, it is to investigate the difficulty that mental health field confront in comprehending and diagnosing persons who pretend to be ill, as well as the subjective nature of symptom reporting. Next is the study also examines therapeutic and scientific context with a focus on how intentional wrongdoing affects treatment outcomes and litigation practices enhance diagnostic precisions. And lastly, it is complexity of addressing this issue is shown by qualitative research and surveys that provide insight into the experiences and motivations of people who have fake mental illness. The problem statement for this study, the first one is the difficulty in differentiating between the mental health patient and the fake ones. The second one is faking mental illnesses poses significant implications on the mental health field. And the last one is cases of untreated mental health issues increases due to people faking mental illness. So the objectives for this study, the first one is to increase the awareness on mental health and well-being issues. The second one is to study the root causes behind faking mental illness and the possible risk by it. And the last one is to evaluate the possible implications from cultural and social factors. Significance of study. The first one, the aim of this study is to broaden public understanding and perception of various perspectives on mental illness. The second one is understanding the causes of mental illness. Freud can help people gain understanding of the underlying problems and difficulties that require resolutions.
So now I'm going to talk about research methodology. In this study, we applied both qualitative and quantitative instruments in collecting the data using survey and interview sessions. For the interview sessions, the targeted person interviewed are patients diagnosed with mental illnesses, expert on mental health such as psychiatrists or counselors, and random passerby. And as for the survey was prepared using Google Form, which was blasted to random people. The research methodology on survey. The survey was categorized into 3 sections, which are Section A, Demographic Profile, Section B, Awareness on Mental Health, and Section C, Faking Mental Illness. The survey was closed right after the data collected was considered sufficient for analyzing, which ended up being answered by 30 respondents. So now we'll look at the data analysis of the survey, which was answered by 30 respondents. For Section B, the Awareness on Mental Health, this section provides an analysis on the general awareness of the respondents on mental health. So the bar chart shows how seriously the respondents are aware of mental health, and we can see that all of them have contrasting concerns for the public's mental health. The second question was how were the respondents exposed to mental health issues? So the data shows that most of the respondents were exposed to mental health illness through personally knowing a person who has gone through mental health issues. Meanwhile, some of them read the information on the topic through social media or heard of it from friends and relatives. Some were even suffering from mental health issues but were never clinically diagnosed, so this shows that all of the respondents were aware of mental health illness. The third question was, have they heard the terms faking mental illness? So the data shows that most of the respondents have heard the terms of it, but 33.3% of them have never heard of it. And for the fourth question was where they heard about the topic from. So from the data, most of the respondents has heard this topic through social media or friends and family or through their own research, and some of the respondents have never heard of it. So now on to Section C, which is faking mental illness. This section will be focusing on the opinions on the issue. So according to the chart, most of our respondents think that people fake mental illness because of loneliness and to stand out, or maybe self-diagnosed panic. Some say people fake mental illness to avoid responsibility and to gain benefits from it. The second question was, do you believe that cultural factors may be involved behind a person choosing to fake mental health problems, and why? Majority of our respondents believe it and say that cultural factors have been imposed on an individual from a young age due to their family background, while some disagree with it. The third question was, what do you think are the consequences of faking mental illness? Majority of the respondents thinks that faking mental illness will cause family conflicts, unhappiness, social isolation, and people will start to doubt the ones who are having mental illnesses. The fourth question asked, if you have a friend who is proven to be faking mental problems, how would you deal with it? Most of our respondents choose to investigate their friend's action, while some advise their friends to seek a psychiatrist for help, and a few of the respondents show full support and sympathy to their friend. And finally, we ask how seriously the respondents view faking mental illness being an issue of increasing concern in our present-day society. The bar chart shows that most of the respondents have concern on the issue, but some respondents have no concern about it at all.
Our second research methodology is interviews. The targeted individuals is patients that diagnosed with mental illnesses, experts on mental health, and random passerby. The first patient is Wan Aisha Safia, who is suffering from ADHD, and the second patient is Aiman Shafi Azman, who is suffering from anxiety disorder. The expert that we interviewed is Madam Azaina, who is majoring in psychological studies, theoretically and practically, and currently is working at UTP Psychological and Counseling Services. And the first passerby is Zarid, who is UTP Mechanical Engineering students, and the second passerby is Daniel James, who is UTP Petroleum Engineering students. And the data collected from this question, which is, have you heard of faking mental illnesses? Do you have any acquaintance that faking mental illnesses, and how do you notice it? Why do people faking mental illnesses? The impact of faking mental illnesses to the society. How would you enhance the prevention of faking mental illnesses? If you have a friend that faking mental illnesses, how would you deal with it? And lastly, how serious is the case of faking mental illnesses in the present day? From the interview, we could analyze the data from the question. The first question is, have you heard faking mental illnesses? Some of them said they have the basic knowledge from media and experiences. They are also aware the existence of the cases. The second question is, do they have any acquaintance that do it? They said that none among family members and friends. From the professional view, among patients, to be honest, it's not easy to diagnose either they have it or they're faking it. So, the next question is, why do they fake it? Majority of them said to obtain attention and approval due to the loneliness and also to get better treatment. Also, from the professional view, if people really faking the mental illnesses, there must be a reason behind it. So we have to empathize and don't be judgmental. Also, there also opinion that it's because of a lead self-diagnosis, because people romanticize mental illness. And the fourth question is the impact on society. It will lead to trust issue on mental health due to the doubts on the validity of mental illnesses. It's like they're making jokes about it. So for the people that really faking mental illnesses or keep deceiving people, it will tarnish their own integrity. Then they will also go through social isolation. The next question is how to enhance prevention on faking mental illnesses. They suggest that conduct mental and physical screening in each school and institutions and provide one-on-one consultation. Also, conduct speeches and motivational talk to give more exposure on this topic. They also suggest us to join community wellness that will educate ourselves how to handle our motivation. The next question is, if we have a friend that faking mental illnesses, how do we deal with them? So they suggest us to investigate the reason behind it and take action, depend the reasons, relationship with the fakers, and the severity of the situation. They also encourage us to seeking help if we are really have a problem with mental health. And then lastly, how serious they view the faking mental illnesses in the present day. They took seriously the issue because they think that it was taken away attention and waste resources on and from the people that who really need help.
I'll be talking basically about some findings that they came out during our journey of research on faking mental illness. Actually, as my friend said earlier on data analysis, I'll sort out some basic points that they came out during our journey. The first basic point is awareness and understanding on this issue. 100% of the respondents, they show that they have some knowledge on mental illness, and then they are also aware of some insights of mental illness, as throughout the years the awareness effort of educating society on mental health, they show that satisfactory and then successful results. From this 100%, 66.7% of respondents, they acknowledged the phenomenon of faking mental illness. And another source, they like social media and personal experience, are included on this 66.7%. The second point is the reason that they make people fake mental illness. First, the loneliness is one of the point that many people that they are suffering from any issue, maybe any disease or another issues, they trying to hide that they are suffering from something, seeking sympathy. Those are the commonly cited reason for mental illness. From a professional perspective, that I mean the psychiatrist that we interview, she highlighted serious difficulties in diagnosing mental illness, and the need of professional validation. She also highlighted uh, about the empathy to show them that actually we're not judging them, but we're trying and we are striving a lot to help them. The last point that came out is when dealing with a friend faking mental illness. Actually, to understand the reason behind the action and showing empathy and compassion is the thing that we have to do when we see that our friend is suffering or our friend is faking mental illness. And another point is encouraging them to seek for professional help, providing a question motivation for mental well-being.
And I'm going to discuss further on the findings of the research carried out on faking mental illness. Perception of severity on faking mental illness on society. We found out that 56.7% of the respondents had concern for the mental health of the general society. The issue with faking mental illness is that it gives rise to stereotypes and reduces the authenticity of those who are actually suffering from mental illness. Secondly, culture factors, we found out that mostly people, out of the survey, people believed yes, culture factors are a main factor on those who actually come out to be faking mental illness or actually suffering from mental illness. This may involve personal choices, family dynamics, and pressure from the general society. Thirdly, the research also found out that the consequences of faking mental illness may invalidate those who are actually suffering from mental illness. And also, this may give rise to skepticism, disbelief, causing a lack of empathy and understanding towards those who are actually or genuinely suffering from these challenges. This also ultimately diverts the attention that is supposed to be given to those who are genuinely suffering and need the support. To add on, the experts we interviewed said maybe to prevent these cases, we had to give rise to promote values like integrity and honesty in society. Out of the main findings, the main issue wasn't actually awareness of the general society on the topic of faking mental illness. The issue was the perception of the society on the topic. Thus, it is essential to promote accurate understanding and foster a supportive environment such that we can encourage more open conversations about mental health.
In future studies, it suggested that we establish an explicit criteria for recognizing and classifying fake mental illnesses, which we are studying, in order to be able to properly categorize, judge, and compare each case study in relative to each other. Next, we should also start to develop a reliable assessment to identify fake symptoms in order to differentiate them from each other, and also actual proper symptoms suffered by actual patients. Further background research on the role of online platforms and social media in the spread of fake mental illnesses and romanticization of actual mental illnesses is also a good step in ensuring that the research yields more encompassing results. In order to offset the unintended placebo effects during the research to research subjects, we should start to educate the public and remove stigma around surrounding mental health. In conclusion, the report has taught us that we should approach cases where a person is suspected of faking mental illnesses with respect and compassion, and not to judge or confront directly without proper background checking. We should also encourage honest discussions and offer help instead of outright bashing and denying the other party's feelings. The limitations faced by this study is that ethical concerns arise when studying individuals faking mental illnesses due to the deception involved and the potential harm to healthcare providers and patients. The difficulty in diagnosing and assessing fake mental illnesses can lead to inaccurate conclusions and compromise validity of case study findings. Limited research opportunities exist as finding willing subjects for case studies on this topic is challenging due to the ethical considerations. Scarcity of comprehensive cases focusing on individuals faking mental illnesses may also limit our understanding of the phenomenon. In conclusion, the limitations faced by this study consist mainly of not being able to differentiate and choose proper case subject studies. It is recommended to seek professional guidance on how to properly handle and also recommend professional guidance towards the suspect who is faking the mental illness. Faking mental illnesses blurs the recognition of genuine cases and diverts help away from actual cases which need help. We must learn to understand the consequences of our actions.